Ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your hats and don't let go of your reins. We have some great news. For those of you that have been requesting westerns, or specifically a certain western, we are proud to announce that tomorrow's lineup shall include Gunsmoke in the 8th hour of the radio program. Thanks for providing us details about the shows you desire. We will do everything that we can to meet your needs and provide the programming that you want. It is our objective to provide quality program that is enjoyable and diverse for everyone. We will continue playing new episodes every day, so every day will be a completely new episode for you. So don't desist requesting new ways that we can better serve you. That is our goal. And enjoy. Now, don't turn your dial. We have some auditions in one short episode that's going to play now. So first, Mark Dillon goes to Go I. First audition, Rye Dillsbury. Then Mark Dillon goes to Go I. Second audition starring Howard Culver. Then the next audition that was on December 17th, 1950. And another audition that was September 3rd, 1950. And finally, we have a short episode that's going to play, which is called Ben Thompson. And I put this short episode here because it's only about 7.5 minutes, which would not fit in the 30-minute lineup. So thanks again, and enjoy, and feel free to comment or add any requests that you like in the future. Thanks a lot for watching, and enjoy the show.
Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke, the story of the violence that moved westward with young America. The story of one man who moved with it, Mark Dillon, United States Marshal.
Oh, a man there lives on the western plains with a ton of fight and an ounce of brains, who herds the cows as he robs the trains and goes by the name of Cowboy.
He was part of it. A singing saddle bum, a cowboy, a drifter. They all drifted here to Dodge City one time or another. It's the end of the track and the start of the wilderness. A dumping ground of odds and ends, and beginnings and leftovers. It's a place to stop and take the kind of pleasure you need. It's a place to pass through. Sometimes it's a place to die. My part of it was a sun-charred shack, rent paid by the United States government, and a marshal's badge furnished free. I was at the window watching the heat plump itself with Kansas dust and roll in towards the town when the door opened.
Your name, Dillon? You're the United States Marshal?
She was about 50. Hat, poke bonnet, dress, gingham, shoes, beaded Indian moccasin.
I heard about you in Galjai. They said there was a steady marshal here. Been living for 6 months running.
They've been lying to you. 4 months.
They say you can break a man's heart at 50 yards. They say you and your gun's already done that.
What's on your mind?
I want you to saddle up and get down to Galjai.
Why?
My husband. My husband owns the White Buffalo. Roulette, music, drinks. They say the roulette wheel's crooked.
Look, ma'am, half the roulette wheels in the West are probably crooked.
Maybe. But in Galjai, they kill a man for running a crooked wheel.
Well, look, ma'am, I don't...
Abigail Contrarius, that's my name.
Yeah. Well, Mrs. Contrarius, you don't need a marshal. You need an honest husband.
That wheel's no more crooked than you are. Leastwise, from all I hear about you. If it was, I wouldn't take none of the money's won from it.
Oh, sure.
Don't shore me, Marshal. The money don't just mean money to me. It means books for Indian kids and writing stuff, slates and all.
Oh, missionary.
Huh, me, with a gambler and a philanderer and a toper for a husband. I teach Indian kids, that's all. Teach them to behave and a little learning, that's all.
That's good work, ma'am. These towns could use more people like you.
Never mind that. If I don't get help, those kids will go back to their wild ways and I'll have a dead husband. You coming? Or do I have to ride that mule some more?
Ride it back to Galjai. I'll be along.
Make it soon, Marshal. There'll be a convulsion down there if you don't.
It was night when the town of Galjai came out of the wilderness and beckoned to me like a painted, skinny hag. If Dodge City had a tougher sister, this was it. I rode up to the White Buffalo and started to tie my horse to a hitching post whittled to the shape of a Pawnee girl when... Suddenly, the gun in my back told me I wasn't alone.
You won't like it here, Marshal. Pretty as it is, you won't like it.
No?
No, and, don't turn around, Marshal. I'm shy and I'm modest and I embarrass easy. Isn't that so, Harold? You see? Harold thinks it's so. Harold had his tongue clipped. Apaches.
Maybe it was too long.
Oh, now, that's not a genteel thing to say to Harold, Marshal. He takes offense.
I'm new here. Back in Dodge City, the etiquette's a little more formal.
Then go back to Dodge. We're very happy here in Gaujai. Like little birds. You could spoil it.
I was invited. Special invitation.
Well, the party's over. Now, Harold, now!
Something lashed out across my skull. A bead of glass splintered my brain. From far, far away, I heard some words.
Like I said, Marshal, you won't like it in Gaujai.
I wanted to kill him, but I couldn't. I didn't know who he was. I hadn't seen his face. But I knew I'd never forget that voice and that crazy giggle. When I opened my eyes, I was in Gaujai's dirt. I picked myself up and waited till the town stopped its dizzy dance. On its third time round, I spotted a horse trough. I stuck my head in to get rid of the blood on my face. I finally pushed my bones through the swinging doors of the White Buffalo. It was the usual kind of place, like Mrs. Contuarius said. Roulette, music, drinks. I got halfway across the floor toward the bar. Then I saw her and heard her. Slender, hair molded black, and something profane and exquisite distilled into her features. She looked at me, and when she spoke, it was as if she hadn't quit singing.
Buenas noches, chico. Oh, a marshal. A marshal with a new scar and a muddy badge. You buy a drink, huh, Chico?
Here's $1. Buy yourself an egg. Where can I find the owner?
Over there by the poker table. The goatee and pompadour.
Thanks.
Hasta la vista, Marshal.
Yeah, I'll be seeing you. Your name, Contuarius?
See. Oh, the marshal from Dodge City. Oh, you have the look of a large headache, senor.
Yeah, someone else besides you and your wife was expecting me.
Oh, muy mal bad.
It wasn't good.
So I see. But I am glad you have come, senor marshal. Look around. You see my place? The White Buffalo, sole proprietor and owner, me, Rafael Ramon Jose Contuarias. Magnificent establishment, no?
Mm-hmm. Looks like your magnificent establishment takes plenty.
For weeks now, I am losing money on the roulette wheel. Still, people say it is crooked.
Oh?
Someone is swindling me, senor. This someone I swear I will kill, dead, unless you find him for me first. That is why my wife comes to you, asks you to come to Gauja.
She had it a little different. She's afraid this someone might kill you first.
Como? Oh, see, that might happen. But not so long as he can swindle me. Why kill the chicken with the golden egg, senor?
Uh-huh. Well, let's have a look at this wheel of yours.
See. Follow me.
12, red. Number 12.
Who's your spinner?
Greg Hagen, base croupier in the territory.
Uh-huh. Suppose you'll let me look around myself.
As you wish, senor. You find that someone who is swindling my wheel, see?
I'll give it a try, Mr. Contuarius.
Bueno.
Contuarius left me alone. I watched the table for a while. Nothing happened. Wheel didn't look crooked, and if it was being swindled, it was done clever. Finally, I moved around near the croupier. Hagen.
Yeah?
See you a minute?
What for? Oh, Marshal. Yeah. Bill, take over for a minute. Sure. Okay, Marshal. What can I do for you?
This joint legitimate?
Why ask me? Contuarius.
I know, sole proprietor and owner. Rumor has it the wheel's rigged, is it?
Suppose it is.
Well, then, I could win. You could win, too. Maybe 25% of what I win, and Contuarius wouldn't know.
Keep talking.
We both got to live 50%.
Now get this. Contuarius is my friend.
Sorry, I made a mistake. No hard feelings.
Plenty hard feelings. I think I like it better back at the table. Look around yourself. Make up your own mind about the wheel.
So I did. Mostly I hung around the roulette table. As far as I could see, the wheel was giving the house and the customers an even break. Just about the time I started to walk away, two new players came up to the crowded table. One pasty face, handsome, in a weak chin sort of way. The other, a big, silent hulk of a man with a drooping lower lip. They didn't seem to be together or even know each other. On the next spin, the ball fell into 29, bounced out, rolled around 13. Finally, settled in double O. Just as it did, Pasty Face reached out and put a $100 bill on double O. Greg Hagen, the croupier, looked up and spoke soft but fast.
Sorry, mister, you placed your bet after the ball's settled. The house can't accept it.
I had that $100 down before you started to spin. Pay me off.
Sorry, mister, the house says you take back your money. Contrarius?
Pay me, brother, before I make brush out of this joint, and you first.
Any trouble, Greg?
Yeah, this man placed a bet after the ball dropped.
He's crazy. I had the bet down at plenty of time.
So sorry, senor. The croupier is always right. Take your bill from the table. And if you please, get out.
He did. Fast. Too fast. As he went, I started to remember his voice. I'd heard it before. It was the voice behind my back when I first hit town. And all of a sudden it made sense, and I knew I'd found out one way the Spaniard was getting rooked. Pasty Face and the Hulk were a team. When Pasty Face picked up the bill, there was a blue chip under it on double O, and the house paid off to the Hulk. All according to Hoyle, except for one thing. The Hulk hadn't placed any bets. It was a good stunt. There had to be more to it than that, so I gave Contrarius a nod and followed Pasty Face as he left. I got out of the casino just in time to see him disappear around a corner. I took it easy, polite and easy. And a bullet nubbed the dust at my feet. I ducked into the shadows and whipped out my guns. A flash had come from a narrow passageway between two buildings.
I'm in this alley, Marshal. Come on in and get me.
Wait right there, kid.
I'm waiting.
He was in there somewhere. In that long slab of night that was too black to see through. Somewhere in there. I put my back against the wall and slid into it.
Strike a match. I want to see your face when it happens to you.
Try me.
No, Marshal. You shoot first. You'll miss. You know that, Marshal. But I won't, because your gun flash will tell me where you are.
Real clever. And that was clever what you did back at the White Buffalo.
Honest, Injun? Now tell me about it.
You and your friend. That was Harold, huh? A giggler with a talent for pistol whipping.
Tell me some more about it.
You throw down a $100 bill with a blue chip underneath it after the ball drops. You get yourself thrown out. Harold collects 35 to 1.
Did Harold do that? Oh, Harold, did you do that?
And there he was, framed in the entrance of the alley. I was caught between them, Pasty Face and the mute called Harold. The big guns in Harold's hands turned over and over. His face held all the evil in the world.
You all right, Harold? Take him!
He was shooting waist high along the wall. And he was getting close. There was only one thing to do, and I couldn't miss.
You got Harold, Marshal, but you made a mistake. Your gun flash gave you away.
When I opened my eyes, I was in a place I'd never been before. Kind of cottonwood clearing. I'd eased the wound in my shoulder, and from across a smoldering campfire, I saw her. The girl from the White Buffalo. A morning sun lighted up the features of a man at her feet. It was Senor Rafael Ramon Jose Contrarius. And the bullet hole in the middle of his forehead gave him an extra flourish. Now it was Senor Rafael Ramon Jose Contrarius deceased. And the pretty senorita was singing a love song.
Back to Gunsmoke in just a moment. Combining modern detective methods with secrets of the mysterious East, The Green Llama offers CBS listeners a new thrill now on Sundays. Once he has heard of a crime or an injustice, Jethro Dumont, a wealthy young American just returned from 10 years in Tibet, brings into play his quick wit and knowledge of illusion to thwart the evildoers. Join him Sunday as he continues his fight against crime on this side of the Pacific, wearing green, the color of Tibetan justice, aided by Tulku, his trusted lieutenant. The Green Llama is a feature presentation of most of these same CBS stations. Now back to Mark Dillon, United States Marshal, and Gunsmoke.
You have slept long, Chico, without dreams,
How do you know there were no dreams?
because I saw Death give you a little piece of himself, and then ride away on a black pony.
Yeah, I'm lucky. Who are you? How'd you get here?
They call me Tomas. I brought you here. The wagon over there in the burrow. You are muy lucky, Chico. The bullet was for your heart, but it spent itself in your shoulder. It was not your time to die.
But it was Contuarius' time, huh?
Perhaps his grave has been empty too long.
And you knew him well?
See? I knew him.
Well enough to kill him.
I did not kill him. Senor Contuarius was my protector.
What did he protect you from? Himself?
I like your mouth better when it is gentle, Chico.
And who did kill him?
How would I know? He was there like that when we arrived.
Why'd you bring me here?
I like you, Chico. That's why I tell you. If you leave, go back to Dodge City. If you die, die in Dodge City. It is not good here for either one.
Why didn't Pasty Face finish the job?
Right after you were wounded, I came along. I persuaded him you were dead.
He persuades easy, huh?
He persuades easy. For Tamar. The shots were heard. People came. Senor Drew does not like attention.
Drew. Ah, his name's Drew. But why here? What'd you bring me here for?
I thought Conquarius could help you. After all, he was your friend.
How'd you know that?
I saw you talking together in the White Buffalo. But tonight, out of the darkness, Death found Conquarius.
Conquarius! Conquarius! Where is he? Where is he? Answer me, woman, or I'll horsewhip you within an inch of your life.
There, Senora.
Hello, Marshal. Enjoying yourself? Get up, Conquarius, get up.
He's dead, ma'am.
He shouldn't be lying there on the cold ground. I'll lift him into the cart.
I will help you, Senora.
If you so much as touch him, I'll kill you. Come along. Conquarius. Give me that blanket, Marshal. You won't need it.
Sure. Here, ma'am. You're pretty strong to lift him by yourself.
I've done it before. You're hurt, Marshal.
I'll be all right.
You can come too if you want to, Marshal. I'll take you back to town.
Yes, ma'am. I didn't think she'd make it, but she did. Somewhere on that long wagon ride back to town, she squeezed a tear onto her cheek. Just one tear, but for Mrs. Contuarius, it was a major emotion. The sun was doing its best to char the wood-frame buildings when we hit Gougai.
All right, Marshal. Get out of the wagon.
Why bring me back to Gougai, just so I could pick my own gutter?
That door. That shack door right over there. Try it. Get up.
Oh, come on, Dillon. All you have to do is lift your arm and knock on the door.
Yeah? Well, Marshal. What's the offer this time? 150%? Hey, you're hurt. Come on in.
Thanks.
Who sent you here?
Mrs. Contuarius?
Oh. I better cut away that shirt.
Why'd she send me here, Greg?
Not neat, Marshal. Not neat at all.
Why here, Greg? You a doc?
Lie still. I'll get some things.
You haven't answered my question.
I do things with my hands, Marshal. Spin roulette wheels and extract bullets between spins.
You a doc?
Yeah, I'm a doc. Was. Had a shingle. Shiny one. And they said I couldn't have it anymore. They had a word for it. Malpractice. They said I did something. What are you looking at?
That roulette wheel on the table over there. What's the matter, Greg? Don't you get enough practice at the White Buffalo?
You want this wound fixed or not?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Say, Greg.
Yeah?
I once heard about a croupier clever enough to spin a wheel and drop a ball into any slot he wanted. Hit it about once out of 5 times. Not bad.
Once in 4 is better. What about it?
I could mention it to Mrs. Contuarius. Round up you and Drew and go back to Dodge City.
Drew?
Pasty-face guy. The guy who pulled the fast trick with the chip and the $100 bill last night.
I didn't know him. I refused the bet, didn't I?
Yeah, that's what doesn't fit.
I'd stop worrying about it if I were you, Marshal. I could keep this wound open and let it bleed.
On the other hand, you could take the bullet out.
Yeah, I could do that.
And I'd owe you something. I wouldn't have to remember you to Mrs. Contuarius.
It's like this, Marshal. First, I just wanted to tame the wheel. Then it got out of hand.
Tamar have anything to do with it getting out of hand?
What do you know about... I'm ready to take the bullet out, Marshal. You're going to keep what you know to yourself?
Take the bullet out. I'll bite my lip.
Yeah, do that, Marshal. It's a nice pose.
I bit my lip, but all I got was pain in my mouth. I didn't need that. There was enough pain. It was a pain that was painted in red, and it couldn't decide whether it was a flame or an icicle. When I woke up, Greg was talking to someone. It didn't take long to recognize the voice.
You should have let him die, Chico. You will only cause trouble.
He's got nothing on me. Only trouble I got is you. Every man in town. You couldn't even leave the marshal alone.
Caramia, you're crazy. I found the marshal in the cottonwood clearing, like I told you. He was there when I came.
Yeah. Keeping your little rendezvous with Contuarius. I warned you, Tamar. I told you if I ever caught you with Contuarius again, I'd kill him, and I did.
I'm sorry I heard you say that, Greg.
Don't be sorry. Just leave town. I could have let you die, Marshal.
I'm going to take you, Greg. But first, I'm going to give you some advice.
Yeah?
Get rid of Tamar. One of her stories is bad, either the one she told you or the one she told me.
Don't listen to him, Chico.
She told me she brought me to the cottonwood clearing and persuaded Drew that I was dead. If that's true, then it follows that Drew's cutting your time the same as Contuarius was. You can't kill everybody Tamar takes up with.
The marshal talking through his wound, Tamar?
He's delirious. He's lying, Craig. I found him in the clearing, as I told you.
Well, Greg, who do you believe? Me or Tamar?
Get out, Marshal. Get out and leave town.
Can't, Greg, not yet. Gotta take you. Also, there's a personal matter to attend to.
I could have let you die, Marshal, remember?
Yeah. I'll testify at your trial.
Kill him, Greg. Kill him now.
Shut up! You know, Tamar, you've got too many friends.
It's a lie. Everything he says is a lie.
Maybe. We'll stay one more night in Gaujai. Just one more night. That's all we'll need.
No good, Greg. I'll have to take you.
With your shooting arm and a sling, I don't think so.
I'll gamble on it, Greg. Want odds? I got up and left Greg's shack. He didn't try to stop me. One thing about Greg, he wasn't afraid of me or anybody else. I went back to the White Buffalo and waited. About an hour later, Mrs. Contuarius drove up. She was wearing black. She'd just come from her husband's funeral.
Lend me your good arm, Marshal. I don't want to rip this dress.
Yes, ma'am. There you are. Was it a nice funeral, ma'am?
Yes, Marshal. The kids behaved real nice.
You've done a good job on them, ma'am.
Thanks. Come in and have a drink, Marshal. You look peaked.
I followed her into the casino. In an hour, it began to fill up. I hid myself behind the stairs where I had a clear view of the roulette table and waited. About 8, Tamar walked through the door. Tamar in a dress of red. Tamar buckled with silver. She strolled over to the table and put some chips on the black as Greg spun. There was no sign of recognition between them.
7 black, 7 pays, black pays. Place your bets.
On the next spin, Tamar won again. Then she lost. She doubled her bets and won more times than she lost. After a while, she stopped playing colors and switched to single numbers, 35 to 1. She kept on winning, but 1 out of 4, like Greg said. In an hour, there was roughly $20,000 stacked in front of her. Just before she bet number 13, I saw Greg fold his thumb under his palm and rub the side of his face.
13 black, 13 pays, black pays.
Lucky. You're very lucky tonight, Tamar.
Tonight, Senora? But I'm always lucky at your tables, no?
Not as lucky as tonight. Sorry, men, this is a private table from now on. You can all move to the second wheel right over there.
Private table, senora?
Yes. Just you and this gentleman.
The man Abigail thumbed at over her shoulder was Mr. Drew in person. I put my good hand on my gun and prepared to finish my unfinished business. And I decided to wait for the piece to play itself out. I didn't know what Mrs. Contuarius had in mind, but this show was too good to spoil. Tamar, Greg, and Drew.
I don't know. This is my last spin.
That's all right, Tamar. All Mr. Drew wants is just one spin. Right, Mr. Drew?
Yeah, just one spin with the little lady.
But I...
Mr. Drew, huh?
Yeah.
But I do not feel like betting.
We'll
anymore.
spin once more.
Bueno. All of my chips on number 1.
Number 1, huh? Hey. Yeah, that's a good number. Number 1. I'll take 10,000 in gold on number 1.
Three, red. 3 pays. Red pays.
Why, you double...
Go! Go!
Greg didn't have a chance. The knife he tried to draw was hammered back by the bullets that tore through his hand and across his chest. Suddenly his face changed. He looked young and hurt, and ashamed of the blood that he couldn't hold back.
It'll make me happy if no one tries to follow us. Let's go, Tamar.
He held his guns like they were dogs on a leash that could snap easy. He waited for Tamar to scoop up the money. Then they backed out of the casino.
You let him get away, Marshal.
I don't think so, ma'am. He knows I'll come and get him, and he'll be waiting for me. He'll be wanting to finish me off if he can. And I'm going to give him his chance. I figured there was only one place to look, and there they were, resting easy in the cottonwood clearing.
I knew you'd have to come after me, Marshal. You're funnier than an actor. I saw one once in Dodge. You're funnier.
Maybe you laugh too easy, Drew. Like you killed too easy.
A marshal with a gun arm and a sling chasing a killer.
Go away, Marshal. Go away while there's still time.
I got nothing but time. I'll wait.
You're wrong, Marshal. You've got no time at all.
Yeah?
Chico. Chico. This I do not believe. It is impossible that someone could shoot faster than Senor Drew. And with your left hand. Oh, Chico, you're so very quick with your gun. I like that about a man.
Take it easy, Tamar. Come on, let's go.
Go? Not now, Marshal. There's time. Sit here. Sit here next to Tamar.
Like this?
See.
You know what I think?
Chico, don't talk now.
I think he had a great thing with Greg. He could put that ball on any number you bet on. Only that wasn't enough for you.
But it doesn't matter now, darling.
You thought you could double your profits by throwing in with Drew. Maybe you were going to double-cross him, too. I don't know.
Don't worry about it, Chico. The money is yours, too.
It belongs to Mrs. Contuarius. That's who's going to get it.
What? What are you talking about?
Take your choice. Come back with me to the jail in Gaujai, or I'll turn you over to Mrs. Contuarius. I don't think she could stand having you alive.
You!
Come on. This is the first time I've ever held a gun on a woman.
Chico, surely you are playing with me.
You're an accessory to murder, Tamar.
We'll go away together. You and I. Mexico, New Orleans. Listen to me, Chico. You and I.
Let's go, Tamar.
Listen to me. There's plenty money, yours and mine. Listen to me. Listen.
She put her arms around my neck and her lips close to my ear. And for a long time, first in English, and in Spanish, then in Cherokee, then in a language I couldn't recognize, she whispered at me every foul name in the book. She was talented. She didn't repeat herself once. Tamar didn't understand that a marshal had a job to do, and that the job got done. On the way back to Dodge, I came across a cottonwood clearing I'd never noticed before. I rode down into it. A small animal scurried off a log and lost itself in the shadows. And I was alone. And for a time after that, for a long time after that, I thought about Tamar. He'd given her guitar, but I knew she wouldn't be singing much longer. The rest of the way home, the country was dust. It got inside of my mouth, and it stayed there.
Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke, the story of the violence that moved westward with young America. The story of one man who moved with it. Mark Dillon, United States Marshal.
They all drifted here to Dodge City, one time or another. The Buffalo Killers, the Saddle Bums, the Spoilers. It's the end of the track and the start of the wilderness, the dumping ground of odds and ends and beginnings and leftovers. It's a place to stop and take the kind of pleasure you need. It's a place to pass through, and sometimes it's a place to die. My part of it was a sun-baked shack, rent paid by the United States government, and a marshal's badge, furnished free. I was at the window watching the heat plump itself with Kansas dust and roll in towards the town when the door opened.
Your name Dillon? You the United States Marshal?
She was about 50. Poke bonnet, gingham dress, beaded Indian moccasins for shoes.
They said there was a steady marshal here in Dodge City. Been living for 6 months running.
They've been lying to you. 4 months.
They say you and your gun can break a man's heart at 50 yards.
What's on your mind?
Want you to saddle up and get down to Gaujai.
Why?
My husband. He owns the White Buffalo there. Roulette, music, drinks. They say the roulette wheel's crooked.
I'll tell you what to do. There's a fella here in Dodge City named Sin Killer Stokes. Saves souls by the bushel. Trumpet playing and everything. You tell Sin Killer about your husband.
In Gaujai, they kill a man who runs a crooked wheel. I don't want my husband dead.
Well, look, ma'am, I don't even know
Abigail Contrarius. That's my name.
Yeah, well, Mrs. Contrarius, you don't need a marshal. You need an honest husband.
He's no more crooked than you are. If he was, I wouldn't take none of his money.
Sure.
Don't sure me, Marshal. The money don't just mean money to me. It means books for Indian kids and writing stuff. Slates and all.
Oh, a missionary.
Me? With a gambler and a philanderer and a toper for a husband? I teach Indian kids. Teach them to behave and a little learning, that's all.
Well, that's good work, ma'am. These towns could use more people like you.
Don't sniff around me. You marshals are supposed to mean law and order and the rights of decent people. Gaujai could use some of that. You coming, or do I have to ride my mule some more?
Ride it back to Gaujai. I'll be along.
Make it soon, Marshal. There'll be a convulsion down there if you don't.
It was night when the town of Gaujai loomed out of the wilderness and beckoned to me like a painted, skinny hag. If Dodge City had a sister, this was it. I rode up to the White Buffalo and started to tie my horse to a hitching post whittled to the shape of a Pawnee girl when suddenly the gun in my back told me I wasn't alone.
You won't like it here in Gaujai, Marshal. Pretty as it is, you won't like it.
No?
No, don't turn around, Marshal. I'm shy, I'm modest, I embarrass easy. Isn't that so, Harold? See? Harold thinks it's so. Harold had his tongue clipped. Apaches.
Maybe it was too long.
No, that's not a genteel thing to say to Harold, Marshal. He takes offense easy.
I'm new here. Back in Dodge City, the etiquette's a little more formal.
Then go back to Dodge. We're happy here in Gaujai, like little birds. You could spoil it.
I was invited. Special invitation.
Yeah? Well, the dance is over. Now, Harold, now! I told you wouldn't like it in Gaujai, Marshal.
When I opened my eyes, I was in Gaujai's dirt. And I knew I'd never forget that voice and that crazy giggle. I picked myself up and waited till the town stopped its dizzy dance. On its third time around, I spotted a horse trough and stuck my head in it to get rid of the blood on my face. I finally pushed my bones through the swinging doors of the White Buffalo. A girl leaned against the bar, strumming a guitar. Black hair, slender, and something profane and exquisite was distilled into her features. She watched me across the room, and when she spoke, it was as if she hadn't quit singing.
Buenas noches, Chico.
Evening.
Oh, a marshal. A marshal with a cut face and a muddy badge. You buy girls' drinks, Marshal?
Here's a buck. Buy yourself one. Where can I find the owner?
Over there by the poker table.
Which one?
The goatee and pompadour.
Thanks.
Come back to me, Chico. They call me Tamar.
Tomorrow, huh? Maybe I will.
60 acres of fine bottomland, actually.
Your name, Contorius?
Si. Oh, the marshal from Dodge City. You already have the look of a large headache, senor.
Yeah? Someone else besides you and your wife was expecting me.
Muy mal. Too bad.
It wasn't good.
So I see. But I am glad you have come, Senor Marshal. Come, look around. See my place. I have a magnificent establishment here. No? Yes.
No.
Yes. You know, it would grieve me if I had to part with it.
It'd grieve Mrs. Contorius more, and for a better reason.
Senora Contorius hates it how I get my money, but she takes it for the Indian children.
Looks like the take's plenty.
No. Every day my wheel loses money. Somebody is swindling me. This somebody, I swear it, I will kill dead.
Your wife hinted it might be you who'd be killed, dead.
No one has killed me yet. This I tell myself, and it makes me happy.
Yeah. Well, let's have a look at this wheel of yours.
Of course. Follow me. You see, I have also faro, dice, girls, dancing girls, and the finest liquor west of the Mississippi.
Number 12. Red face, 12 face.
Who's your spinner?
I will introduce you to him. Greg.
Senor?
Un momento. William will take your place.
Yes, Mr. Contorius.
Greg Hagen, the best croupier in the territory. Greg, I want you to meet Mark Dillon, Marshal of the United States of America.
I've heard your name, Dillon. You're from Dodge City.
Lately from there. Go count your chips, Contorius. Hagen and I want to talk.
Yes, I leave you gentlemen alone.
We want to talk, Marshal?
Yeah. Rumor has it the wheel's rigged.
Mrs. Contorius tell you to ask?
Maybe. Well, is it?
Look, Marshal, Contorius is my friend.
Still, a croupier's in a mighty good spot to double-cross the house.
Marshal, I already told you Contorius is my friend.
Sorry, I made a mistake. No hard feelings?
Plenty hard feelings. I think I like it better back at the table. Look around yourself, Marshal.
So I did. Mostly, I hung around the roulette table. And as far as I could see, the wheel was giving the house and the customers an even break. Just about the time I was ready to go out and find Contorius again, two new players wandered up to the crowded table. One in a beaded jacket, the other a silent hulk of a man. They didn't seem to be together or even know each other. On the next spin, the ball fell into 29, bounced out, rolled around 13, and finally settled in double O. Just as it did, Beaded Jacket reached out and put a $100 bill on double O. Greg Hagen, the croupier, looked up.
I'm sorry, mister, you placed your bet after the ball settled. The house can't accept it.
I had that $100 down before you started to spin. Ask anybody. I had it down. I want to ask the people. I'm telling you, I had it down.
Look, mister, your bet wasn't legitimate. The house recommends you take your money and get out.
He did. Fast. Too fast. In another second, I knew the reason why. When Beaded Jacket picked up the bill, there was a blue chip under it on double O, and the house paid off to the silent hulk. I knew I'd heard Beaded Jacket's voice before. When I first hit town, so I moved fast. I got out of the casino just in time to see Beaded Jacket disappear around a corner. I took it easy. Polite and easy. The bullet nubbed the dust at my feet. I ducked into the shadows and whipped out my guns. The flash had come from a narrow passageway between two buildings.
I'm in this alley, Marshal. Come on in and get me.
Wait right there.
I'm waiting. I'll strike a match. I want to see your face when it happens to you.
Try me.
No. You shoot first. You'll miss, you know that, Marshal. But I won't, because your gun flash will tell me where you are.
Real clever. That was clever what you did back at the White Buffalo.
Honest Injun. Tell me about it.
You and your friend. That was Harold, huh? The giggle with the talent for pistol whipping?
Tell me all about it.
You throw down a $100 bill with a blue chip underneath it after the ball drops. You get yourself thrown out. Harold, who never made a bet at all, collects 35 to 1.
Oh, did Harold do that? Did you do that, Harold?
And there he was, framed in the entrance of the alley. I was caught between them. Beaded jacket and a mute called Harold. The big guns in Harold's hands turned over and over. His face held all the evil in the world.
You're right, Harold. Take him.
He was shooting waist high along the wall, and he was getting close. There was only one thing to do, and I couldn't miss.
You shot Harold, Marshal. That was your mistake.
When I opened my eyes, I was in a place I'd never been before, a kind of cottonwood clearing. I eased the wound in my shoulder, and from across a smoldering campfire, I saw her. Tamar. The morning sun lighted up the features of a man at her feet. Senor Rafael Ramon Jose Contuarius. The bullet hole in his forehead gave him an extra flourish. Now it was Senor Rafael Ramon Jose Contuarius, deceased. And the girl named Tamar was singing a love song.
Back to Gunsmoke in just a moment. Combining modern detective methods with secrets of the mysterious East, the Green Llama offers CBS listeners a new thrill now on Sundays. Once he has heard of a crime or an injustice, Jethro Dumont, a wealthy young American just returned from 10 years in Tibet, brings into play his quick wit and knowledge of illusion to thwart the evildoers. Join him Sundays as he continues his fight against crime on this side of the Pacific, wearing green, the color of Tibetan justice, aided by Tulku, his trusted lieutenant. The Green Llama is a feature presentation of most of these same CBS stations. And now back to Mark Dillon, United States Marshal, and Gunsmoke.
When they pinned a marshal's badge on me, they said I had a job to do. This morning, my job was a man with a bullet hole in his forehead and a marshal with a wound in his shoulder. The dead man was Rafael Ramon Jose Contuarius, and the marshal was me. And there was a girl named Tamar.
You have slept long, Chico, without dreams.
How do you know there were no dreams, Tamar?
Because I saw Death give you a little piece of himself, and then ride away on his black pony.
Yeah, I'm lucky. How did I get here?
Senor Contuarius and I brought you here. The wagon over there in the burro. You are muy lucky, Chico. The bullet was for your heart, but it spent itself in your shoulder. It was not your time to die.
But it was Contuarius' time to die, huh?
Perhaps his grave has been empty too long.
And you knew him well?
See, I knew him.
Well enough to kill him?
I did not kill him. Senor Contuarius was my protector.
What did he protect you from? Himself?
I like your mouth better when it is gentle, Chico.
Then who did kill him?
I do not know. While we were here trying to help you, a bullet came out of the darkness and found Contuarius.
How come you picked this place?
It is a place Senor Contuarius and I knew well.
Oh, like that, huh?
It is a place where Senor Booth would not look for you if he knew you were still alive.
Booth? Oh, so that's his name, the man in the beaded jacket. How come he didn't finish me?
When we heard the shots, Senor Contuarius and I ran out of the White Buffalo. I persuaded Senor Booth that you were dead.
Booth persuades easy, huh?
He persuades easy, for Tomar. The shots were heard, people came.
Senor Booth does not like too much attention.
Well, he's going to get all of mine, Tamar. Undivided.
I don't advise it, Chico. If you live, go back to Dodge City. If you die, die in Dodge City. Oh, wait. Ha! The Senor Contrarius in the burro cart.
Oh. Where is he? Where is he? Answer me, woman. Answer me.
There, Senora. Behind the marshal.
The marshal? Hello, Marshal. They said you'd been killed. Get up, Contrarius. Get up.
He's dead, ma'am.
Oh. He shouldn't be lying there on the cold ground. I'll lift him up into the cart.
I will help you, Senora.
If you so much as touch him, I'll kill you. Come along. Contrarius.
You're pretty strong to lift him yourself.
I've done it before. You're hurt, Marshal?
I'll be all right.
You can come too if you want. Take you back to town.
Look, ma'am, I'm sorry about...
Sorry? You should never have left Dodge City. All it got me was a dead husband. Get in.
Somewhere on that long wagon ride back to town, Mrs. Contrarius squeezed a tear onto her cheek. Just one tear. But for her, it was a major emotion. The sun was doing its best to char the wood frame buildings when we hit Gaujai. She drove past the White Buffalo to the far edge of town, pulled up at a tar paper shack.
Oh. Here we are, Marshal.
Why bring me here? Just so I could pick my own gutter? Why didn't you leave me in the cottonwoods to die?
That door. That shack door right over there. Try it.
All right, ma'am.
Get in.
Yeah? Well, Marshal, I heard you were dead. Hey, you're hurt. Come on in.
Thanks.
Who sent you here?
Mrs. Contrarius.
Huh? You better cut away that shirt.
Why'd she send me here, Greg?
Not neat, Marshal. Not neat at all.
Why here, Greg?
Lie still. I'll get some things.
You haven't answered my question.
I do things with my hands, Marshal. Spin roulette wheels and extract bullets between spins.
You a doc?
Yeah, I'm a doc. Was. Had a shingle. Nice, shiny one. And they said I couldn't have it anymore. Malpractice, they said it. What you looking at?
That roulette wheel on the table over there. Don't you get enough practice at the White Buffalo?
Don't strain yourself, Marshal.
I won't. I'm not too much alive. But I once knew a croupier clever enough to spin the wheel so that the ball would drop in any slot he wanted.
That'd be pretty hard to prove, wouldn't it, Marshal?
Yeah, it would.
Now, you want that wound fixed?
Uh-huh. I'll bite my lip real hard.
Do that, Marshal. It's a nice pose.
I bit my lip, but all I got was a pain in my mouth. And I didn't need that. There was enough pain. It started when Greg put a scalpel against my shoulder, and it went on from there. It went on for a long time. Finally, everything gathered into focus.
Keep that bandage dry, Marshal. You'll be all right.
Thanks, Doc. What's your fee?
This bullet, the one I took out of you, I want it as a souvenir of the time I saved a marshal's life.
You're welcome to it. Just tell me this. You know a girl named Tamar?
Girl in the Bible had that name.
Contrarius knew a girl named Tamar. Now he's dead.
Contrarius dead? Well, I suppose somebody wanted him dead.
Yeah. But stick around. I may want to talk to you again later.
It's always a pleasure, Marshal. I'll be around. What are your plans?
I'm going to take a killer.
With your shooting arm in a sling? I don't think so.
I'll gamble on it, Greg. Want odds? I got up and left Greg's shack. Taking a killer needed a little preparation, and right now preparation meant talking to Mrs. Contrarius. But something stopped me. It was the funeral Mrs. Contrarius was celebrating for her dearly departed. Somewhere she'd found a black ostrich plume and pinned it to the donkey's head. The cart she always used was draped in banners of black silk that looked suspiciously like the shreds of an elegant petticoat. 3 grinning Indian kids, maybe 8 years old, were beating the drum, clapping the cymbal, playing a flute. The rear of the parade was brought up by a bunch of other Indian kids, looking solemn because their new shoes hurt. And on the cart, in an open pine box, lay Senor Contrarius. I looked inside. The senor was still very aristocratic. I looked again, closer. Then I knew I just had to talk to Mrs. Contrarius. It was maybe an hour later when she drove up to the White Buffalo alone, her cart empty and stripped to the banners. She looked uncomfortable in her black cotton.
Lend me your good arm, Marshal. I don't want to rip this dress.
Yes, ma'am. There you are. Nice funeral, ma'am.
Thanks, Marshal. Kids behaved real nice, didn't they?
Yeah. You done a good job on them, ma'am.
Thanks. You haven't been very successful, have you, Marshal?
Maybe that's your fault. Maybe you haven't told me enough.
About what?
About Tamar and your husband, for instance.
What about Tamar and my husband?
This about them, ma'am. They were real good friends. That could be a reason for you to kill your husband.
Could, Marshal, but it wasn't. Maybe he was killed because he found out who was cheating this wheel and you didn't.
But I did.
Then why don't you take him?
You want me to take Greg Hagan?
Greg Hagan? I don't believe it. Hagan's an honest man, as honest as you are, Marshal. Can you prove what you're saying?
I don't know. But I'm sticking around to see if I can. And I'm sticking around to see if I can bring in a killer.
Who is it?
Maybe you. Maybe Greg. Maybe Booth, the man in the beaded jacket. Maybe even the girl named Tamar.
Then come on in and have a drink. You look peaked.
I followed her into the casino. In an hour, it began to fill up. I hid myself behind the stairs where I had a clear view of the roulette table and waited. About 8, she walked through the door. Tamar. Tamar in a dress of red. Tamar buckled with silver. She strolled over to the table and put some chips on the black as Greg spun. There was no sign of recognition between them.
7 black, 7 pays, black pays. Place your bet.
On the next spin, Tamar won again. Then she lost. She doubled her bets and won more times than she lost. After a while, she stopped playing colors and switched to single numbers, 35-1. She kept on winning, about 1 out of 4. In an hour, there was roughly $20,000 stacked in front of her. And in an hour, there wasn't any doubt they were a team, and Greg was spinning a crooked wheel.
13 black, 13 pays, black pays.
Well, you're lucky. You're very lucky tonight, Tamar.
Tonight, senora. I am always lucky at your tables, no?
Not as lucky as tonight. Sorry, men, this is a private table from now on. You can all move over to the second row, right over there.
Private table, senora?
Yes, just you and this gentleman.
Mrs. Contrarius was playing it smart. The man she thumbed at over her shoulder was Booth in his beaded jacket. I could have made my move then, but I decided to wait for the piece to play itself out. Mrs. Contrarius was getting them all together, and this show was too good to spoil. Greg, Booth, and Tamar.
This is my last spin.
That's all right, Tamar. All Mr. Booth wants is just one spin. Right, Mr. Booth?
Yeah, just one spin. With a little lady.
But I was...
Mr. Booth, huh? Yeah.
Well, I suppose it is all right. Spin the wheel, Greg.
We'll spin. Once more.
Bueno. All of my money on number 1.
Number 1, huh? That's a good number. Number 1. I'll take 10,000 in gold on number 1.
Oh, that's all right.
3 red. 3 pays, red pays.
Greg, why you double-crossed me.
I double-crossed you.
It don't matter, Tamar.
Greg didn't have a chance. The knife he tried to draw was hammered back by the bullets from Booth's gun. They tore through his hand and across his chest. Suddenly, his face changed. He looked young and hurt and ashamed of the blood that he couldn't hold back. Booth held his guns like they were dogs on a leash that could snap easy.
Keep back. All of you. Marshal.
You can quit playing possum now. It'd make me real happy if you try to follow it. Pick up the money and let's go, Tamar. Nobody move! Nobody move!
You let him get away, Marshal.
I don't think so, ma'am. He'll be wanting to finish me off. I'm going to give him his chance. I could have looked for him in a lot of places, but he was with Tamar. That narrowed it down. There was only one place to look. It was dawn when I found him, resting easy in the cottonwood clearing.
I knew you'd have to come after me, Marshal. You know, you're funnier than an actor I saw once in Dodge. You're much funnier.
Maybe you laugh too easy, Booth. Like you kill too easy.
A marshal with his gun arm and a sling chasing a killer.
Go away, Marshal. Go away while there is still time.
I got nothing but time. I'll wait.
That's where you're wrong, Marshal. You got no time at all.
Yeah?
Go! Chico, this I do not believe. It is impossible that someone could shoot faster than Senor Booth. But with your left hand. Oh, Chico. You are so very quick with your gun. I like that about a man.
Take it easy, Tamar. Come on, let's go.
Go? Oh, not now, Marshal. There is time. Sit here next to Tamar.
Like this?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I think?
Oh, Chico. Chico, do not talk now.
I think you had a great thing with Greg. He could put that ball in any number you bet on. Only that wasn't enough for you.
Oh, but it does not matter now, Carito.
You thought you could double your profits by throwing in with Booth. Maybe you were going to double-cross him, too. Like you double-crossed Contuarius and Greg.
Oh, do not worry about it, Chico. The money is yours, too.
It belongs to Mrs. Contuarius. And that's who's going to get it.
What? What are you talking about?
Take your choice. Come back with me to the jail in gouge eye, or I'll turn you over to Mrs. Contuarius. And I don't think she could stand having you alive.
Why, you... Oh, Chico, surely. Surely you are playing with me, huh?
You murdered a man, Tamar.
Chico.
You killed Contuarius.
Oh, Chico, I told you the shot that killed Contuarius came from the woods in back of the clearing.
Much closer than that. From your gun, Tamar. Contuarius had powder burns on his forehead, so that shot was fired from up close. I saw that when I looked into his coffin. Powder burns from your gun, Tamar.
We will go away together, you and I, Chico. Listen to me, Chico.
Contuarius found out you were double-crossing him with Greg, didn't he?
Listen to me.
Let's go, Tamar.
Listen to me, Chico. There is plenty of money, yours and mine. Listen to me, Chico.
She put her arms around my neck and her lips close to my ear. And for a long time, for a long, long time, first in English, then in Spanish, then in Cherokee, then in a language I couldn't recognize, she whispered at me every foul name in the book. She was talented. She didn't repeat herself once. Tamar didn't understand that a marshal had a job to do, and that the job got... On the way back to Dodge City, I came across a cottonwood clearing I'd never noticed before. I rode down into it. A small animal scurried off a log and lost itself in the shadows. Then I was alone. For a time after that, for a long time after that, I thought about Tamar. They'd given her guitar, but I knew she wouldn't be singing much longer. The rest of the way home, the country was dust. It got inside of my mouth, and it stayed there.
Gunsmoke featured Howard Culver as Mark Dillon, supported by June Foray, Gerald Moore, Vic Perrin, Jack Crucian, D.J. Thompson, and Jay Novello. Music was composed and conducted by Del Castillo. The original story, by Morton Fine and David Friedkin, was directed by Richard Sandville. This is Alan Botzer to Gunsmoke, and another thrilling adventure with Mark Dillon, United States Marshal. CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
You, finding life rather dull, dreaming again of exotic places, wishing you were somewhere else? We offer you escape.
Escape with us now to the Old West and the unusual story of a merciless professional killer, as Ernest Haycox tells it in Wild Jack Rhett.
Red Mesa. A little town springing out of the hot, dry prairie beside the Chisholm Trail. A saloon, a hotel, 2 general stores, and a tiny church where the decent citizenry might pray for salvation while a wilder element, trail driver and teamster and buffalo hunter, restlessly searched out friend and enemy along the dusty main street. A small hill rose on the western edge of Red Mesa, plagued with a rash of graves, some marked and cared for, others sinking and forgotten.
Man that is born of woman hath but a short time to live, and is full of misery. He cometh up and is cut down like a flower. He flieth as it were a shadow. While we're praying, a couple of you boys start throwing some dirt on the sheriff. O Lord, with whom do live the spirits of them that be dead, and in whom the souls of them...
And that same evening, a committee of the leading citizens of Red Mesa gathered together at Mayor Wayne's home to decide upon a new sheriff.
All right, gentlemen, sit down and let's get this settled. Gentlemen, to make this town a decent place for our women folk and children, we've got to have a Sheriff Todd Mallon and his kind can't kill. We need the toughest gunfighter available. And I want to propose...
Just a minute, Mayor Wayne. Let me speak.
All right. Go ahead, Bo Allen.
I don't think we should get all upset just because we lost another sheriff. Jim Speed worked out fine for Red Mesa. All we need is another sheriff just about like him.
I expected that, Bo Allen. All you look out for is to keep that saloon of yours full of anybody who'll buy whiskey and gamble. I still propose we reform this town by sending for a man some of you may have heard of, Jack Rhett.
Gentlemen, I do want my saloon full, and full of the only men who'll bring any money at all into Red Mesa. Cowpunchers coming up the Chisholm Trail with Texas cattle, thirsty men on the prod from a long drive. But you give them Jack Rhett instead of a little fun, and this town will go broke.
We'll chance that, Bo Allen. We'll chance that.
What about Matt Travener? What's he got to say?
I've nothing to say, gentlemen. As U.S. Deputy Marshal for the district, my job is strictly outside Red Mesa. You run your town any way you like. I'll handle the surrounding territory.
Know anything about Jack Rhett, Travener?
Just by reputation. Professional town tamer. And I've heard he's the most cold-blooded killer ever drew a gun.
Ravener's right. We can't afford a man like that here.
Let's put it to a vote, gentlemen. All in favor of sending for Jack Rhett, raise their right hand. 5-1. The matter is settled, gentlemen. Good night.
Yeah, good night.
All right, Wayne.
You'll wait and see Mary, Travener?
If you don't mind, Mayor.
Of course. Sit down. She'll be out in a minute. Well, boy, Helen is pretty mad. But after Jack Rhett is here for a while, at least there'll be less gunfighting.
Be less anyway if Todd Mellon were out of the way. He sets a bad example. He's a hard man to catch.
Well, you've done all you can, Travener. There's just too much territory around here for Mallon and his gang to lose themselves in. He'll have to be taken by a town officer, and I think Rhett is the man to do it, if Malin comes to town again.
He'll come, Mayor. When the word gets out that Red is sheriff here, Malin will have to face him or lose his reputation with his own men.
Good evening, Father. Hello, Matt.
Good evening.
Hello, darling.
Well, Matt Travener, aren't you going to kiss me?
Of course, sure. Here.
Mary. What a shameless wench you are.
Oh, Father, you're old-fashioned. After all, we're engaged.
Your mother, God rest her soul, didn't behave like that when we were engaged.
The war changed things, Father.
I know, but not for the better. Well, I'm off to bed. Don't stay up too late now. Good night.
Good night, Father. You look worried, Matt.
Do I?
Tell me about it.
Well, it's just that they're sending for a new sheriff. A legal killer named Rhett. He has quite a reputation, and there'll always be men to challenge it.
That means more gunfighting. Is that it?
I'm afraid so. It's a bloody way to peace, Mary.
I know. Let's not worry about it now. Come on. I'll fix some coffee for us.
3 weeks later, Wild Jack Rhett rode into Red Mesa. He was 38 and at the peak of his reputation. He stood well over 6 feet, better than 200 pounds of plain sinew. Tawny blonde hair grew long in the frontier style, and his features, fair and tinted like a girl's, were boldly aquiline. He was a picturesque man, till one looked at his eyes, which were large and pale blue, and had the disconcerting trick of remaining too steadily on people. There was to be seen in him the suggestion of inhumanity. He sent word to the committee that he'd meet him at the mayor's office that evening.
It's 8 o'clock now. Where is he?
He's in town, and that's bad enough.
Dear sport, Bo Helen. We took a fair vote on Rhett.
Here he comes now.
My name is Jack Rhett. I have your offer.
I'm Peter Wayne, mayor of Red Mesa. Do you accept it?
Depends on what you want. Tell me.
Well, Rhett, this is a difficult town. The Chisholm Trail lies just across the river, and we get most of our money from the riders passing through with Texas cattle. Now, we want them to have a decent time for their money, but we don't like a lot of gunplay and killing.
I have always been accustomed to complete authority, Mayor. I presume to know my job, and I won't have interference.
That's agreed, Rhett. By the way, the last sheriff had a rule that riders leave their hardware at his office. He had trouble enforcing it.
A poor rule. Let them pack their guns.
That gives the wild ones a fair chance at you.
I never give a man a fair chance at me. Is that all, gentlemen?
Bo Helen's saloon was the usual deadfall, with a huge bar along one side of the room and gaming tables toward the rear. Next morning, Bo Helen stood tapping the mahogany of the bar with his fingertips, staring thoughtfully at nothing.
Good morning, Bo Helen.
It's noon, Samus.
Huh? Oh, sure. Draw me a beer, Mike. Where's the new sheriff, Bo Helen?
Over there at the corner table. Came in just before you did.
Huh?
Barkeep, bring me a cigar, a glass of rye.
Yeah. Now he's going to clean and reload his 6 guns, one at a time.
By golly, he is. How'd you know?
It's an old gunman's trick to impress the citizens.
But there's no one here except you and me.
Then it's to impress me.
I don't. Goodbye, Bo Helen. Mike.
You've got something to say to me, Bo Helen?
Yes, I have. You're smart, Red. I recognize that. But your record for killing is too severe, and my business depends on an open town. Now, the reform element got you, and I'll go along for now. But just remember one thing. I can break you, Red, any time.
I was waiting for that, Bohelen.
Well, then I guess we understand each other.
Hello?
Oh, any luck, Matt?
Just a morning's ride.
Matt, here's Jack Rhett. Rhett, this is Mac Travener, U.S. Deputy Marshal for the district.
Glad to know you, Red.
You're young.
Don't be misled. Red, your job is in town, mine is everything outside. So I'll either back you up here in Red Mesa or leave you strictly alone.
I'll handle Red Mesa.
All right. One more thing. I want Todd Mallon. If he comes to town again, he'll have to be taken. Will you do that, or shall I?
What is he?
Outlaw. His main line is plain robbery. Now I want him for killing Jim Speed.
Let me handle Mallon.
Why?
Killing's my trade. Man doesn't live with enough animal instinct to get me.
Maybe. But killing you would build a man's reputation considerable.
Just so?
Yeah. Good luck, Red.
There was peace for a full week in Red Mesa. And then on Saturday night, Matt Travener's prediction came true. Jack Rhett was at his customary post just opposite Bohelen's saloon, in a chair on the porch of the Chinook Hotel, obscured by the shadows and watching the crowd, his cold, pale eyes half concealed by cigar smoke. Trouble found him thus.
Evening, Sheriff.
Good evening, ma'am.
Keeping an eye on the boys, huh? Shooting.
Where's the sweat that used to be an Abilene? Where's he hiding? Where's that great man, Wild Jack Rhett? Bring him out!
Hello, cowboy.
That's a lot of killing for one sheriff. 3 men. I don't like it.
Forget it, friend. Have a drink and forget it.
You're Bohelen, ain't you?
That's right. Come on now, have one on the house. Mike, fix him up.
I can pay for my liquor.
Yeah, me too.
You never gave him a chance. What kind of sheriff you got stands in a shadow and kills 1 man, and then jumps 50 feet from his gun flash and shoots down 2 more? Those boys never had a chance at him.
Just drink your drink, cowboy.
That was the most merciless killing I ever seen. He's a butcher. I wish I'd gunned him. Up!
Those kids better be still now.
This is my game. They were fools to play it. Never buck a man who's spent his life learning to kill, son. Get out of town. Get out now.
Red? What if I draw...
Don't try it, son. Don't let your anger destroy you. Drift. Go on. Drift.
Blast your town. I can hold my thirst another 200 miles up the trail. Come on, boys. We'll send word back to Texas to go around Red Mesa and let it dry to powder.
Yeah, sure will.
It won't do, Rhett.
It'll do, Bohelen. Barkeep, bring me a glass of rye. On the house.
Rhett stood with his back to the bar, holding his drink and a thin black cigar carefully in one hand. He stood there for about 10 minutes. Then trouble came again.
Todd Mellon, he's riding in with 4 men.
Close the games. Open up the back doors. Well, Jack Rhett, now let's see you shoot down Todd Mallon and 4 men from the shadows.
Good night, Bohelen.
Escape, under the direction of Norman MacDonald, returns in just a moment. Sorry, but if you think school teachers have it easy, you've got another think coming. Just ask our Miss Brooks, as played by Eve Arden, on most of these same CBS stations this evening. And now, back to Escape.
When word came to Bohelen's saloon that Todd Mallon was riding into Red Mesa with 4 men, Jack Rhett simply walked out, crossed the street to his office, sat down, and waited. 20 minutes later, Todd Mallon had arrived and departed. Not a shot fired. Then Jack Rhett went quietly to bed. But early Sunday morning, he was back in his office.
Come in.
Morning, Rhett.
Well, Travener?
There's talk, Rhett.
I expect that.
Now, Rhett, you told me you'd handle Mallon if he came to town.
Yes, Travener.
Well, they say Mallon rode into town last night with 4 men, rode right up to this office, got down, came inside. That you and he stood here with this desk between you talking. And that a few minutes later, Mallon left and rode out of town.
I play the game my own way, Travener. And I don't want interference from anybody.
People are saying maybe you and Mallon made a deal of some kind.
Well, now, somebody's breaking the Sabbath. Know who it could be, Travener?
No, I don't.
That's a rifle. Sounds like one of those 7-shot Spencers.
And it's old Hack Crow.
Who's he?
An old trapper. Comes to town every few months, sells his furs, gets drunk, goes a little crazy. Jim Speed always laid him away in jail to sober.
Yeah, I'll take a look.
You better stop him, Rhett.
He's only got 2 shots left. That'll satisfy him. I doubt if he'll reload.
And if he notices us and decides to shoot?
Then I'll have to kill him. Hey, who's that coming out of Bohelen's?
Ewald Bay, gambler.
He's a fool.
Now he's getting his horse. You gonna stop him, Rhett?
No, let him go.
Rhett, the town is your territory, and I won't interfere. But why did you refuse a fair shot at Hack Crow? Ewald Bay is dead.
Which is the more useful citizen, Travener? Crow or Bay? West is full of gamblers.
There was considerable talk that day in Red Mesa over Jack Rhett's aloof and cruel calm in condoning a shooting that had occurred under his very eyes and within reach of his formidable guns. Then, mid-afternoon, a rider came up from the prairie and reported finding old Hack Crow dead in a coulee, dry gulched and robbed. Mayor Wayne heard about it and went to Bohelen's saloon to hear more.
Well, good evening, Mayor.
Hello, Bohelen. Shot of brandy.
And what do you think of your great Jack Rhett now, Mayor?
It looks bad.
Now, look, Mayor. Everyone knew Hack Crow carried his profits in his pocket. He always did that. So Rhett allowed him to leave, and Todd Mallon and his men were waiting for him in the coulee. It's as simple as that.
We have no proof of that, Bohelen.
No? And why didn't Rhett take Mallon when he rode in here last night? Because they made a business arrangement, that's why.
Well, it doesn't look good, but shh. There's Rhett now.
Barkeep, glass of rye.
I don't want to talk to him yet. I'm leaving. Good night, Bohelen.
Good night, man. Mike, give me that rye. I'll take it over to the sheriff myself. Here's your drink, Sheriff. Mind if I sit down?
Game never changes, Bohelen. I know what you're going to say.
I warned you I could break you, Rhett.
It's an old story to me. Every town's got one insider who plays along with the outlaws. And I knew you to be that one here when I first saw you. Running a saloon, you'd know when a cattle buyer was riding out of town carrying a specie, and when the overland stage was loaded with gold. There was a quarrel over the split of profits between you and Mallon, and you fell apart. That's always the way.
Very shrewd, Red.
It's an old story, Bohelen. I know it by heart.
Very shrewd. But you can't play the same game.
All sheriffs are supposed to be crooked.
You and Mallon had an agreeable little chat last night. Did he make you a good offer, Red?
Maybe I should accept his offer, Bohelen, just to keep you two split. Maybe I should do that.
Red, I've seen sheriffs come and go. It's a chancy trade.
Sheriffs die. They all die. It's only a question of time.
You're a hard one, Jack Red.
You might make your peace with Mallon. It'd have to be that way, otherwise you'll have little chance of getting rid of me, Bohelen.
It may be that way.
I wouldn't be surprised. I always expect the worst of men, and am seldom disappointed.
It was turning dark as Jack Rat left Bohelen's saloon. Crossing the street, he walked into his office, but continued on out through the back door. A few minutes later, he stood in the gathering shadows opposite the OK stable and watched Bohelen ride out and drift into the prairie to the south. He knew now what to expect. It would happen soon, perhaps tomorrow. He returned to his office and slept the night there.
Come in. Well.
Morning. Brett, I want you to meet Mary Wayne.
Miss Wayne, very proud.
I wanted to know you.
To meet him, Mary, not to know him. Rhett lives in a closed world.
See that? I have no friends.
We're to be married on Thursday, Mr. Red. I should like you to be there.
I'd be most happy. Thank you.
Now, Mary, would you wait outside? I got some business to discuss with the sheriff.
Of course, Matt. But don't be long. Goodbye, Mr. Red.
Bye, Miss Wayne.
Brett, this afternoon I'm leaving to find Todd Mallon. You had your chance, but you let him go.
Wait, Traveler. Wait.
I've tried patience, Rhett, and I'm a poor hand at it.
Traveler, you have a fine girl. If it's not presuming, let me congratulate you, compliment her.
Thank you. Was that all?
I'll take care of Mallon. Give me a little time. It's my job.
Red, I want to believe you.
No man wearing a star should believe anybody. It's a weakness. Haven't I told you?
Blessed if I quite understand you, Red.
And understand this. Every man has his time. When it comes, he knows it. There's no turning back. Nothing makes any difference then except to stand up to the finish and go out in decent style.
And yet you're the man never believes in giving another man a break.
Don't try to understand me.
You want help with Mallon?
I have no faith in help.
Coming, Mary.
Wait, Traveler. I'll suggest this much. Take one man. Ride due north to where the cattle trail crosses Tempest Creek. Be there tonight. Understand?
Red, I'd hate to oppose you.
If you did, you'd lose. I've been 15 years at this, Traveler, which is 5 years beyond average luck.
That evening, Jack Rat took up his post on the porch of the Chinook Hotel, dressed in his best, a hard white shirt, a blood-red Windsor tie, and a suit of black broadcloth swelling around the big, uncompromising shoulders. He sat there calm behind the smoke of his cigar, waiting.
Full moon tonight, Sheriff.
That's right.
No offense, mind you.
Good evening, Red.
Hello, Mayor Wayne. Mayor, have you seen Traveler?
He rode north this afternoon. Be back tomorrow, he said.
Good.
Where's the sheriff?
Here I am.
Red, listen, I just come up South Creek and Todd Mallon and 6 men were only a quarter mile behind me, heading into town.
All right, friend. Take cover.
Yeah, sure.
Rhett stood up and moved into the shadow at the end of the hotel porch. Across the street, Bohelen appeared in the full glow of the doorway of his saloon.
Come out in the dark and meet your friends, Jack Rat. What are you afraid of? It's only Malin riding in to see you.
Thieves fall out, but the urge for profits brings them together again.
You should have known it, Rat.
Nothing surprises me.
Well, there you are, Red. Surprised to find you exposing your great reputation out there in the middle of the street.
Every man has his time. You want to try it, Bohelen? Or will you wait for help?
I'll wait.
The arriving horses came up into the moonlit street and halted at the corner of the saloon. Bohelen's hand lifted toward the group, and at that order the horsemen spread out until they were flank to flank all across the street. Todd Mallon advanced from the line and stopped, square and alert above the saddle. Jack Rhett stood alone in the middle of the street, his eyes flashing a hard fury. Then he dropped his cigar and ground it beneath the boot. It was a final gesture.
How are you, Mallon? Goodbye, gentlemen.
Next day, Red Mesa buried some more men out on the hill and talked of Jack Rhett, who was more of a mystery to them now than when living. To all of them but one, Matt Travner.
Nobody knows a killer's world, Mary. Wasn't any room in Jack Rhett for much pity. But he sent me away to save me from what he knew was coming. I think that was a kindness, although I had no fear.
It was a fine thing for him to do, Matt. But they say he stood in the middle of the street to face them all in the moonlight. Why? It wasn't his style.
As long as he was sure of himself, he never gave anybody an even chance, Mary. But killers live and die by instinct. And somewheres along the evening, he got the warning. After that, it was just a matter of pride. He killed Mallon and Bohelen before he died, standing up and in good style. And that's sort of a greatness, isn't it?
Under the direction of Norman MacDonald, Escape has brought you Wild Jack Rhett by Ernest Haycox, especially adapted for radio by John Meston. Jack Rhett was played by John Daner, with Larry Dobkin as Matt and Lou Krugman as Bohelen. Parley Bear was the narrator. Featured in the cast were Junius Matthews, Russell Simpson, Gene Bates, Paul Dubov, and Sam Edwards. The special music for Escape was composed and conducted by Ivan Ditmars.
Next week, we escape with the story of two small boys who discover the most fabulous Christmas ever dreamed of, as Anthony Ellis tells it in his delightful tale, The Cave.
Stay tuned now for Make Believe Town, which follows immediately on most of these same CBS stations. Roy Rowan speaking for CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
They all drift here to Dodge City one time or another. The buffalo killers, the saddle bums, the spoilers. It's the end of the track and the start of the wilderness. It's a place to stop and take the kind of pleasure you need.
It's a place to pass through, and sometimes it's a place to die. Mark Dillon's part of it is a sun-charged shack, rent paid by the United States government, and a marshal's badge furnished free. He's there now, watching the street from his window, smoking a thin black cigar. He's several inches over 6 feet in height, with a gaunt, bronzed face. A faded shirt seems molded across his heavy shoulders, and a gun belt made of yellow elk's hide hangs around his narrow hips, the big black-handled Colt in his holster shiny from use. He stands there, erect and unbending as always, watching the heat plump itself with Kansas dust and roll in towards the town.
Come in.
Your name, Dillon? You the United States Marshal?
Yes,
They said there was a steady marshal here, still alive after 6 months.
they've been lying to you. 4 months.
They say you and your gun can break a man's heart at 50 yards.
What's on your mind, ma'am?
I want you to saddle up and get down to Gouge Eye.
Why?
My husband. My husband owns the White Buffalo Roulette Music Whiskey. They say it's a roulette wheel that's crooked.
Well, now, ma'am, I'll tell you what to do. There's a fella in Dodge, Sin Killer's stocks. Saves souls by the bushel, trumpet playing, everything. Tell Sin Killer about your husband.
In Gouge Eye, they kill a man who runs a crooked wheel. I don't want my husband dead.
Well, look, ma'am, I don't...
Abigail Contuaris. That's my name.
Yeah, all right, Mrs. Contuarius, but you don't need a marshal. You need an honest husband.
That wheel's no more crooked than the barrel stave. If it was, I wouldn't take none of the money's won from it.
You sure?
Don't sure me, Marshal. The money don't just mean money to me. It means books for Indian kids and writing stuff, slates and all.
Ah, missionary, huh?
Oh, me, with a gambler and a philanderer and a toper for a husband. I teach Indian kids, that's all. Teach them to behave and a little learning, that's all.
Well, that's good work, ma'am. These towns could use more people like you.
Don't sniff around me. You marshals are supposed to mean law and order and the rights of decent people. Gouge, I could use some of that. You coming? Do I have to ride my mule some more?
Ride it back to Gouge Eye. I'll be along.
Make it soon, Marshal. There'll be a convulsion down there if you don't.
It's night when the town of Gouge Eye comes out of the wilderness and beckons to Mark Dillon like a painted, skinny hag. If Dodge City has a sister, this is it. The marshal rides past the White Buffalo, dismounts, and starts to tie his horse to a hitching post whittled to the shape of a Pawnee girl, when suddenly the gun in his back tells him that he's not alone.
You won't like it here, Marshal. Pretty as it is, you won't like it.
No?
No. Don't turn around, Marshal. I'm shy and I'm modest and I embarrass easy. Isn't that so, Harold? See? Harold thinks it's so. Harold had his tongue clipped. Paiutes.
Maybe it was too long.
Oh, no, that's not a genteel thing to say to Harold, Marshal. He takes offense.
I'm new here. Back in Dodge City, the etiquette's a little more formal.
Then go back to Dodge. We're very happy here in Gouge Eye, like little birds. You could spoil it.
I was invited. Special invitation.
Well, your invitation's canceled, Marshal. The dance is over.
You have slept long, Chico, without dreams.
How do you know there were no dreams, Tamar?
Because I saw Death give you a little piece of himself and then ride away on his black pony.
Yeah, I'm lucky. How'd I get here?
Senor Contuaris and I brought you here. You are very lucky, Chico. The bullet was for your heart, but it spent itself in your shoulder. Oh, Chico, I'm glad it was not your time to die.
You want me to live, Tamar?
Yes, Chico. I want you to live.
But it was Contuarius' time to die. Is that it?
Perhaps his grave has been empty too long.
You knew him well?
See, I knew him.
Well enough to kill him?
I did not kill him. Senor Contreras was my protector.
What did he protect you from? Himself?
I like your mouth better when it is gentle, Chico.
Then who did kill him?
I do not know. Chico.
How come you picked this place?
It is a place Senor Contreras and I knew well.
I see.
I persuaded Senor Booth you were dead.
Booth persuades easy.
He persuades easy for Tamar. Senor Booth does not like too much attention.
Well, he's going to get a lot of mine, Tamar.
I don't advise it, Chico.
Oh?
If you live, go back to Dodge City. If you die, die in Dodge City.
Dillon follows her into the casino. He gets a glass of rye whiskey and takes it to a corner table where he kills the next hour dealing cards to himself. Gradually, the room begins to fill up, and he moves to a secluded spot behind the stairs where he has a clear view of the roulette table. There, he quietly waits. About 8, she walks through the door. Tamar. Tamar in a dress of red. Tamar buckled with silver. She strolls over to the table and puts some chips on the black as Greg, without once looking at her, spins.
7 black, 7 pays, black pays. Place your bet.
On the next spin, Tamar wins again. Then she loses. She doubles her bets and wins more times than she loses. In an hour, the marshal estimates there's roughly $20,000 stacked up in front of her. In an hour, there isn't any doubt in his mind that they're a team, and Greg is spinning a crooked wheel. And then, just before she bets number 13, he notices Greg fold his thumb under his palm and rub the side of his face. In a dry creek bed along the trail from Gougai back to Dodge City stands a small clump of cottonwood. The marshal slowly rides down into it and pulls up his horse. A ground squirrel scurries off a log and loses itself in the shadows. Then he's alone. He throws one knee across the saddle horn and sits there, rolling a cigarette and thinking about Tamar. Back in Gougai, he saw to it that they gave her a guitar. But Tamar won't be singing much longer. She'll hang within a week. The marshal lights his cigarette. Then suddenly he straightens up, savagely kicks his boot back into the stirrup, and rides hard out of the trees onto the trail to Dodge. The rest of the way home, country's dust gets inside his mouth, and it stays there.
Around Dodge City and in the territory on west, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a U.S. Marshal and the smell of gun smoke.
Gunsmoke, the story of the violence that moved west with young America. The story of a man who moved with it. Matt Dillon, United States Marshal.
Need any more cartridges, Mr. Dillon?
No.
I got the greener loaded.
Unloaded. I don't want a shotgun.
Yes, sir. Do you want me to come with you?
You want to come?
No, sir. I guess not. But I will.
Better stay here then, Chester.
This make me a coward, Mr. Dillon?
How do you feel?
Like a coward. Lassiter scares me, sir.
But you were willing to come anyway. Figure it out for yourself.
Good luck, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah.
If I'm not back, don't forget those reports have to be mailed tomorrow.
I won't forget. Mr. Dillon?
Yeah,
You ever get scared?
sure. Better keep yourself busy.
Marshal! Mind if I walk along?
Not at all, Doc.
Yeah, kind of anxious to get a look at this new corpse of mine. Lassiter's sure done us a favor picking Dodge to die in. This'll put us in the history books for sure.
You're a little premature, aren't you, Doc?
Not a bit. Oh, maybe a little foresighted. You know, they say Lassiter's packing 18 slugs in him. 18 slugs? My goodness. He sure has been a lot of gunfights.
Yeah, so they say.
Mm-hmm. Guess he's got the biggest gun rep in this whole section. Outside of maybe Ben Thompson or Wes Harden. And you, of course.
He's waiting at the Alafraganza, Doc. You better not walk in with me.
Oh, don't you worry. I'm not sticking my snoot into no shooting. No, sirree. Hey, Marshal.
Yeah, what is it?
You are going to win, aren't you? I sure hate to work on the bodies of my friends. Makes it too darn personal.
I'll do what I can, Doc.
You watch him close, Marshal. Don't let him pull a hideout.
Hello, Lassiter.
Hi, Matt. Been a long time.
Yeah.
Drink with me?
Why not?
Harry, 2 whiskeys. Harry, get up from behind the bar.
Sure, Mr. Lester. Sure.
Oh, don't spill it.
Leave it on the bar, Harry. We'll pour our own.
Yes, Marshal. Yes, sir. Here, sir.
How's your shoulder, Lassiter?
Aches a little, bad weather. Still carrying your lead, Matt.
There you are.
Yeah. You should have killed me, Matt.
Maybe. It was a long time ago.
Matt, I want you to know I bear no grudge. But it has to be.
I know.
We're gunfighters, you and me, both the same. Yet not the same. What's in our blood. That's why, Matt, that's why I have to brace you. I got to know for sure.
There's no grudge, Lassiter. Your health.
And yours. Straight up.
Straight up. You call it.
Now.
Oh, it was beautiful, Matt. Simply beautiful.
Was it?
Why, yes, and it was close to. For a moment, I wasn't sure who. Oh, Marshal, your neck. You're hit.
Just a scratch. It'll be all right.
But here,
Let it go. Go and get Lassiter. He's all yours.
Hmm? Well, of course.
And you'll be happy to know he's got 20 slugs in him now. I couldn't tell anyone, but the bitterness ice in my stomach made me sick as I remembered Lassiter as a friend, now dead by my gun. And then I got over it. I always got over it. The frontier code was a harsh one. I knew my job was one that had to be done if the West was to ever see peace. As long as killers like Lassiter lived, I'd carry a gun and use it. It was the way it had to be. Sometimes a man's dying was the end of it. And sometimes the beginning of something worse.
Marshal Matt Dillon
Yeah? What can I do for you, miss?
died.
Miss, I don't know.
It's Mrs. Lassiter.
Oh.
You see? You've done quite a bit for me already, Mr. Dillon. You've made me a widow.
Sit down, Mrs. Lassiter. Here, let me get you some
thank
water.
you.
I didn't know Lassiter was married.
Would it have mattered?
No, I guess not.
You're just like all the rest of them. A killer, lusting for blood like a wild animal.
Mrs. Lassiter.
Only you're worse. You hide it behind a badge. My husband was in town less than 2 hours, but you couldn't wait, could you? You saw your chance to get a little bigger reputation. Matt Dillon, famous gunfighter. Matt Dillon, murderer.
It was your husband that sent the challenge, Mrs. Lassiter. I'm sorry for what happened. And if I can help you in any way...
No, thank you, Mr. Dillon. I only came to tell you that you haven't heard the end of the Lassiter name. I'm going to see that you're stripped of that big reputation. And you're going to die.
Mrs. Lassiter, is there anything I could say that you would listen to?
Nothing.
And good day, madam.
Till we meet again, Marshal.